This is Andrian.
And this is Ray. Welcome to the Talk Live podcast.
Every 2 weeks, we'll invite a new guest and
In every session, we'll dig into their life, relationships, and perspectives.
one question at a time.
Let's talk live!
Yay. The Talk Live podcast, and this time we've invited Chew Meng to be our third guest. Woo!
Thanks for coming.
And because we know that we have been a tiny bit unstructured for the previous episode, so this time we'll split his episode into three. And the first episode will talk about his self-identity, opening up, and his sexuality. But Ray, would you give a brief introduction on Chew Meng?
Of course, yeah. So, Chew Meng, I think he's actually a junior to myself. We were all from HKUST and we all from global business, fortunately. Or unfortunately, yeah, depending on how you see it.
Yeah.
But basically, that's how we met. But I think just a brief introduction before Chew Meng does his own introduction. It's like he's a very special kid. Very, he has his own self-identity. Very strong. I wouldn't say strong personality, but very unique. When you look at Chew Meng from a distance, oh, that sounds like him. That's him. He's very flamboyant, right? So, but basically, he's actually also from Malaysia. So I think maybe you can share a bit more about yourself, how you came from a really small, because you're not from Kuala Lumpur, like a big city, right? You're actually from a very small town.
Yes.
It's actually it's a city, right? Or
Yes.
a town, yeah.
Yeah.
And then how you actually ended up in Hong Kong. So yeah, pass the stage to you all, and then we can bounce off some ideas.
Yes. Hi everyone. My name is Chew Meng. I'm from Malaysia. I'm from Ray, but I'm from
Ray?
I'm different from Ray, where I'm from the smallest state from Perlis, and then it's not a city, it's a state.
Okay.
But yeah, it's has been a long journey from there. I moved to Hong Kong 6 years ago for studies, so we are from HKUST, and now I'm working in Hong Kong. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So,
So basically, why we got Chew Meng, I think that's why we're gonna put this in the first segment, so that there's no one has to wait, because people that know you or are close to you already knows that you've already went through that whole process of opening up. Before going to talk about opening up, we really want to understand how you actually identify your sexuality and how you actually realize that, hey, I actually am more inclined to guys as opposed to girls. Yeah.
Yeah, for those that don't know me, this is my first time coming out on like a huge platform. I am gay, and not the happy gay. I'm gay. I am attracted to men, like both romantically and sexually. And from Ray's questions about like how do I identify, is actually when I people always ask gay people or lesbian people like, oh, when do you decide, or when do you discover that you are gay? And I think the answer for me personally is when I was 14. I just realized, I like this person from another school, and then he's a guy, and then I'm like, I like guy, that makes me gay. And then I just start telling my friends like, I'm gay and I like that guy. So it wasn't a lot of hurdles, I would say, in identifying myself, because I think that's just came naturally to me, and has been years that I identify with this label, but it doesn't really restrict me in any ways. I'm just like think that I'm gay and that's it. Just like people that like girls, if they are guy, then I'm like, I'm straight.
So I mean, first of all, thank you so much for doing this with us. We know this is something that touches you personally, so we really respect your openness and willingness to try new things with us. Yeah. So because that was quite interesting. So we actually talk about this, right? That for you it was more of a case that it was very binary. You already know straight up that okay, you're interested in guys, at least from that hormones development stage, right? When you were teenagers and all, and for you already inclined like, okay, you're attracted to the opposite sex. I mean, not opposite sex, the same sex.
Yes.
Yeah. So just wanted, because now you're actually part of the community and all already, right? And you've also engaged with different similar people, but their process might not be the same, right?
Yeah.
So they are more like they sort of live a certain life because of how the parents brought them up, how their friends treated. So they actually they dated girls before, but they realized that Oh,
Yeah.
actually, yes. Want to hear some thoughts on
Uh,
those?
Yeah, for that, I consider myself lucky because I really did not struggle with this identity. I did not think, oh my god, shit, like am I wrong or whatever. I think it's just very natural to me as I say it, but I know a lot of people went through the struggle of like they are not sure. And on that point I want to say is, even though I self-identified as like a gay person, I do think sexual orientation is actually a spectrum where there's actually a lot of us are in between the spectrum, where there's a straight, very, very straight, and very, very gay. And a lot of us are in between. There are a lot of people actually, I believe, there are a lot of people actually bi. And I don't think, as I say it, I don't think the label itself really define you. It's more on what do you like the process, you know, like because people could change. Like when you were younger, you could attract to, you know, like a different gender of people, and then it could become just one gender, and then you can change again. It's I would say it's fluid, and then it's on the spectrum. So to me, it's just more you know, inclined towards the same gender that I really like man, and I'm identify as a man. But that could be a lot of people that in between that. And I want to say that it's completely okay, and you can take all your time to discover, because it's a long life. You know, you can just really figure out what important is, really figure out what type of people you like, and gender might not be first, you know, like that's what I think is very important. I think we all have our own struggles. Like I still face the same thing. Like for example, to me, I still feel discriminated. Like, you know, not kidding. It's like in terms of getting married, there's no way we can get married in Asia, which is one thing that I want to be openly talking about same-sex marriage and stuff. And because there are so many things that we can work on, not only from the stigmas and also the stereotypes, but also in real life, like people really can't get married. You know, it's not because sexual orientation itself is one thing, but how it impacts your life is another thing. Like identity, like you know, like soul searching, you like discover yourself, it's one thing. And after discovering and how that really impact your life, it's another level. So I think I'm in this phase where I'm like, okay, so I'm a gay person, so what does that mean to my life? Like, do I come out like this to people? Do I embrace it? Do I run away? So it's still a constant struggle to me. Like when even though I'm seems very open about all these, I talk about this all the time, but I still have, you know, like some mental blocks when I'm at work or I meet new people. I'll be like, should I open up? Because will that change how they view me? I am okay with this, but will that change how they view me? And will they see this as everything of me? Because it is not everything of me, it's just part of my identities. But you know, with the negative stereotypes that attach to the LGBTQ plus community, that is the worry of a lot of people. Like, you know, even after you affirm yourself with this identity, you still face the worries and fear of the society perception. So I think a lot of people are actually struggling with that as well, me included, from time to time. So
but how do you come out, like for the first time, that you were saying that it was to your
friends first?
Friends.
Coming out, it was very easy. None of my friends are like, I think I'm being very lucky because, as I said, from Perlis is the smaller state, and then it's like people are more conservative, but all my friends are just like, oh, okay, like they are like, okay, you like that guy, cool, like good for you. And but he doesn't like guys, so and I was like, okay, then let's move on. So that was easy for me. But that coming out to friends, I have a lot of supportive friends. Like they don't really like, no one is really judge you, because I think when you come out, and then if people really don't, you know, like they have wrong perceptions about you, they usually stay away. So I never really met any hateful people, whatever. I met a couple, you know, like I was holding hand in Shangwan before with my partner, and then someone yelled like disgusting. I think that hurt me a little. That was one incident. But throughout my life, I've met a lot of supportive people. But to me, coming out, it's a constant process. Like right now, what I'm doing is still coming out. Like that's the difference what I feel and I think between homosexual and heterosexual is the world and the society automatically assume everyone is heterosexual. So everything is heteronormative. Like everything is think as like it's a guy and a girl, they get married, they have kids. Everything has to be molded into that system. When you don't fit in it, you always have to tell people, oh, I am not on this route, you know, I'm different and you know it's not built for me and this stuff. So every day I'm coming out, every time I'm coming out, and coming out is a constant process, like what I'm doing right now. Yeah.
I just, because you touch upon systems, right?
Yeah.
And so far what we're hearing and what we understand is like opening up and everything. I think you have all of that figured out. We can dig into some of the details that later, but you did mention like it's more from internal struggle and dealing with different people emotionally and their expectations. But I remember you also raised the point that getting married is tough. So that is, I would call it like not really emotional. It's more like the system that the world has created. So wanted to really understand, you know, other than, you know, the societal norms, how people view you, that's always a constant struggle, which is already a bitch, right?
Yes.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But what are some of the physical constraints? Like, you know when you're a disabled person, right? There's some things that you cannot do. So as a gay couple or living the gay lifestyle in wherever you are in the world so far, other than getting married, is there any other constraints that you feel like it would be a big barrier? Yeah.
Legal wise, I think same-sex marriage is not recognized in Asia. That is a well-known thing, and it takes time to really change the legal system or whatever. That's one thing. Second thing, it's there are a lot of like laws that are really, really discriminatory and used, you know, to against certain community of like LGBTQ. Like you know, there are penal codes that is against anal sex, like, you know, which is like not
Like
it's
the
like
Malaysian politics is using
yes,
this,
yes,
right?
yes. They use it as a politic tools, and
man.
that it's that's something really bizarre because not only gay couples have anal sex, everyone can have anal sex. I said it. So it's So I encourage everyone to explore that, and but you know, with all those like bad perceptions about that, it's intertwined with that, and I just think it's not there. Like not only, you know, getting married or like the insurance policy and everything, is a huge thing to me. Is a huge thing to me, to be honest. Yeah, to look into that.
It's quite a, how should I say, a juxtaposition, right? Like right now we're pushing a lot of LGBTQ, and I think in the workplace it's accepted, but a lot of the policies fundamentally does not really help, right? Like what you say, insurance, that is something so big, right?
Yes.
So I think we'll get like, do you see that the whole community as a whole, other than awareness, like legally, are we making a push? Like, do you see progress on that side of things?
In Asia, I think the best place that, you know, like progressed a lot would be Taiwan. You know, like they passed the same-sex marriage law bill last year, and it's progressing. There's a lot of way we are undoing the harm, and also like, you know, like trying to remove the stigmas, and also on different routes, like how people view people that are different from them, and also how we can include everyone in the system and society. That's another thing. So I don't think they are mutually exclusive. It's like how do I say it? It's like not because you pass the law and allow same-sex marriage, that means people will stop being hateful. It will not. But having that baseline to protect everyone is a right. Like everyone should marry whoever they think they should be, because like no one cares if you get married, right? Like if you get married today or tomorrow or next year, no one actually cares. But why should people care and prohibit someone from getting married? So that is some questions. Just gonna throw it out there for people to ponder if they have not like thought about that before.
I think there's still a lot of discriminations happening like in Hong Kong or even in Asia, that a lot of people just discriminate against the LGBTQ community, thinking that they are abnormal from the general public. So I think what we're trying to do here is also to raise awareness to like a community that I think we need to look after and also respect.
I don't think how do I say this? I don't think I represent the LGBTQ community because I am only one person and my experience is very different, even though I identify as like, you know, as a gay person. Just like no one can represent the whole group. It's more like we want to see more representatives. We want to listen to more stories about people from all walks of life. Like, you know, like, is this society that we are creating is catering for everyone? Is everyone feeling happy for it? Is everyone having their rights being respected? So I think that's what I hope to see, and by having more conversations and having more transparency between people, we can help to cultivate that because we want to know more about each other. Like when I even though I'm gay, I don't really know more about bisexual or like lesbian or transgender before. It's a learning. It's always a learning. You have to learn more about that, the binary, the non-binary, and I learned a lot along the way, and I believe I will continue learning. You know, it's just the start for me as well. Like learning myself helps me to learn about the struggles of the other people and also help me to see how I can uplift the other people.
Because I think you're already a really great ambassador in this space, but hopefully there are more and more people out there that are willing to share it openly. But obviously, it's really all about, you know, how much you're willing to share and comfortable and respect, right? So hopefully, like, you know, because this platform of the podcast is to actually help, you know, teenagers or young adults that are, you know, discovering themselves, whether it's in terms of sexuality or even, you know, purpose, passion. So today's topic is really more about, at least in this episode, on how they can go through that question about what's their sexuality. So which leads into the topic, like, really, we understand your process of opening up, right? But we understand, like, through your different phase in life, it might be different, because in workplace it's completely different, right?
Yes. I would say Ray's right. Like in different scenarios it's different. Opening up to your friend is very different from opening up to your colleagues and your managers than opening up to coming up to your family. They are all different scenarios, and if you're in the process of you know, like understanding yourself, you should really understand that who you are, what do you like, and the label itself is just help you to understand more. It does not define you as a person as a whole. And you know, it's always easier to coming out to friends if you are still struggling to see if, I would say most people are actually
like by that kind of, right, that stage.
Or like, no, what I'm trying to say is most people, you're right, but most people are actually very supportive is what I want to say. Like, yes. Oops. People are not as hateful. There are a lot of hateful people, but usually people around us, they are not being hateful because they want to be hateful. They're being hateful because they don't understand. So, and a lot of time we are living in our head and thinking, oh my god, am I this, am I that? And it's more like we self-criticize a lot, and you know, just try to open up to a bit and see how it goes. Like push the boundaries a little bit every time with your friends, and then if you want to try it out, and then you can try it at workplace, and then your family in the end. But it really depends on your personal life and experience, that I would say. Not saying you have to come out, because you don't have to. It's really up to you, because it's your life. Like, you get to live your life. If you don't want to open up, you don't want to tell the other people, that's fine. But if you feel like you're being constrained and you feel like you're not happy, you want to live to the fullest, you want to embrace this identity, be proud. You know, that's what we always say, be proud about that. There's nothing wrong about this, and everyone deserves to be loved.
I think in our previous conversation during lunch is that you feel the strain. Like sometimes you just feel tired to just keep it to yourselves, and you just want to like tell your friends. And I think having supportive friends, no matter in which situations, in our previous podcast or through coming out, having supportive friends to be there with you and for you, to understand even yourself. Sometimes I think there are a lot of misunderstanding between like heterosexual people or to homosexual people. I don't think there should be a discrimination. It's just there is a misunderstanding or a lack of understanding of each other. So hopefully people are trying to understand each other more. I don't think that's just limiting to even homosexual or heterosexual. It's basically understanding a person.
Yes.
If you know a person willingly and genuinely, I think you'd find areas that you can appreciate someone or group of community. Is that you would have an open mind to accept people for who they are.
Totally agree. I agree on listening and listen to the perspective of the other people that are different from you, because you always find something else from that. And that is, the reality is always completely different from what you have in your head. Like the stereotypes that we see on social media or on this and that, you just wanna, oh wait, they are just a person and a human like me. They have their own life, they have a work, they have to go to school and this and that. It's just a minor part of them that they live through their life in that identity. So I totally agree on that, listening, and no one should be really excluded from any circumstances because part of the identities,
it's just a part of anyone. If you are heterosexual, you're heterosexual. If you're homosexual, you are homosexual. Or if you are in other areas of different communities that are being discriminated, you shouldn't be. I think everyone should just keep an open mind and just understand each other. And don't read a book by its cover. But also trying to actually read the book. Maybe you discover something that you might not know, and if you don't know, ask questions. I think a lot of people are willing to answer you very willingly and just blatantly without any judgments, right? I think that is one that I really want to tell, because I think for me sometimes I think I'm misjudged too, and I think I'm part of a community that I can relate, but obviously I think in the LGBTQ communities even is an area that I can relate to. So I think we're almost wrapping up this episode. So is there any learnings or takeaways that you think would be useful for our audience to when they're coming out, or when they're having different experience when they're growing up? Is there anything that you would want to remind them, or if you are going back to 10 years ago when you open up to your first friend, family member, what advice would you give them?
Or maybe, I think what would be interesting, because I'm not sure whether you're comfortable to share this, but over lunch you mentioned to friends and everything, that's easy, right? Because they're quite supportive, acceptable. But the ones that was closest to you, and the one that was brought up a different way, the older generation, right? So maybe you can share from that perspective what was some of that learnings and takeaways, even though we understand at the end of the day it's who you are, whether you truly embrace yourself. If you really want to live a full transparent life, then of course don't have some sort of grudge with yourself that you're not opening up to everyone, because at the end of the day they're loved ones, right? So
two parts of it, the first part I'll answer Ray's questions first about opening up, and I came out to my family different phases, but I came out to my family already. I feel relief because I've been it's like a known secret. I'm pretty sure everyone knows I'm very I don't care. I post things on Instagram and Facebook.
Do your friends, I mean, does your parents' friend, or okay, not parents, your family's community, hey, 你個仔 or hey, 你的 son or whatever. My Mandarin is very bad. My Mandarin is very bad. Yeah, forgive me.
There's probably gossips running around or whatever, which I really don't care, because it's my life. People are gonna talk shit about you anyway, and because people don't understand, I don't take it personally. I learned to not take it personally, and the sole reason I came out to my family is because I want to be transparent. I want to let my family know that it doesn't change who I am. Before I came out, that I say, yo, I'm gay, and after I say, yo, I'm gay, I'm still the same person. Nothing's had changed. I am the same person. No, not saying everyone should do that, but if you do that, remember that you are still the same person. You made that decision to come out is because you want to live fully with this identity, and that's what I did. And that's the first part. And if there's any suggestions that I can give to anyone that want to come out to the parents, like make sure you have a support system that you can fall back on, because older generations or like people that do not understand and not as open-minded, they would have some ignorance that within them, and those stuff they say might hurt you. So when I came out and then I was asked, like my family just say, why can't you just change your thought? And then I have to go on a long process of explaining how sexual orientation is not a thought, and then you don't get to choose, like, why can't I just like whoever I like? All those conversations, they are hard conversations, but so make sure you are ready to have conversations, and make sure you have a support system you can go to if anything goes wrong. And lastly, give them time, because we ourselves maybe take time to really understand ourselves, to really like identify with certain things, and for them it takes time for them to understand the other people as well. You can't expect people just be like, okay, cool. Not everyone is that cool. So give space, provide a space for yourself, provide a space for your family, your friends, and respect each other. And the most important thing is respect yourself, and always think about yourself first and then the other people. That's what I would say. And Ren also asked, like, if I can go back 10 years ago, where I go back in time, and then to give any advice, I would say to anyone out there that are confused and still don't know what's going on, am I normal, am I abnormal, am I belong to this society, everyone going through that struggle in some sort of another. Just be one thing to live a happy life is actually be happy with who you are. Like, if you identify whatever labels, identity, or whatever, just be proud of it, as long as you are not hurting anyone. That is my principle of life, because when I first came out and 10 years ago, I won't change anything that I've done, is because I did not hurt anyone, and I'm sharing a part of me. So if you feel comfortable, just do that. You will find out that in this world there are more people that love you than more people that actually hate you. That's what I would say.
Yeah, it's a lot to take on as well, and to consider, but I think it's to understand each other, to respect each other, and that is the biggest takeaway from our first episode. So thank you, Chew Meng, for our first episode, and we will soon move on to our second episode. Thank you very much.
See ya.
Listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and we are also on YouTube now, so feel free to give us a like, comment, subscribe, and more. All right.
And if you find this helpful, share it to people that are going through similar process identifying themselves. I think it's a topic that nobody talks enough about, but very much needed in our daily lives. Yeah,
it is.
All right.
All right. Cheers.
Bye.